operate some sort of draft. The AFL in Australia operates some form of draft as well nowadays. But basically what happens is new talent coming into the system, clubs get to have a pick, so they each get a turn picking which new talent they want. With draft orders organised in slightly different ways in slightly different sports, but basically you get to pick a player at a time, is how it works, and it's therefore seen to kind of give a more even distribution of talent. I really like the way that the draft in the NFL distributes talent out and gives clubs opportunities to sort of build for the future, but it's a very, very different league system, isn't it? We're talking...
Yeah.
We're not talking apples and apples, that's for sure.
And you're also talking, about it's just the very different nature of the positions, and the specialisation is very different. There's lots of complexity, and then the undercut, the college system they come through, they're really professional athletes by the time they get there.
Well, and they come in as new players at 21, 22, 23, coming out of the college system in America, which is where, like you say, the players are developed. Whereas traditionally in rugby league, players come into the first team 18, 19, 20 through a club system that they might have been part of since they were 15. I would work more on more collaborative distribution of income, so that more teams could potentially bring their own talent through from their own area. I think it would be hugely unfair on the clubs that have invested tons of resource into creating players that are good enough to play in our international side, good enough to play in other competitions as well, which doesn't necessarily benefit the people who brought them through. But the clubs who've spent time, years, putting that as a priority into their model, to then say that gets taken away from them to bring in some sort of regional camps. Where would the funding for that come? I don't believe clubs would give up their funding, which they would have to do. They would have to give up central funding to fund this. Otherwise, there is no regional centres of excellence to bring players through.
Now, and also, there's a player welfare angle here as well. That if you're uprooting players at 18 who have no support network nearby, they're not familiar in their environment. It's not like most 18-year-olds playing in Super League will still be living at home or very close by to where they grew up, so they'll be settled and comfortable. The amount of problems with things like homesickness or players going off the rails early. If you think of, say, a Wigan player who currently plays at centre but could play at fullback, for example, if you uprooted him at 18 and put him in a community where he wasn't familiar but had access to a lot of cash and a certain element of profile, would that have been the best thing for that player at that time?
Well, I don't know, because that particular example,
you could probably,
did how it work out for him, did the best for him, or could something else be? I think what I would say as well is rugby league isn't, the reward of getting drafted in the NFL, even if you only play what the average career tends to be in the NFL, which is 4 years, you're still talking about coming out of that having earned $2-3 million as a minimum. Whereas when you're talking about players who might earn £40,000 a year on average through an 8-year career or something, we're talking different things here, and you have to think about what motivations these players have. And I might be motivated to play for my hometown club for that much money, but I might not be motivated to go and play, like you say, kind of 3 counties over for a club that I've got nothing at stake in, for a career that possibly isn't going to give me those huge rewards. I think it's so complicated, like everything is, by one, our sporting culture, 2, the fact that the clubs run the game right now, and 3, the relative financial position of rugby league. I think anything that we can do that promotes competitive balance, fantastic. But at the same time, would we actually even have these players if they were told, Joey from Wigan, you've got to go and play for Hull KR now?
Yeah.
All these ideas that can come in from American sports have an appeal to me, but I don't think it'll work. I don't think this would work in our sport in this country.
Not unless you did it. You'd have to up to everything else and the whole sporting culture, and that there's no guarantee that would work at all. So I think it's taking one part of an ecosystem and trying to retrofit it into another. It's not good. Yeah.
If we were really taking it seriously, I probably would look at players not going to clubs on scholarship deals, under the age of 17, as a thing, and have that more a regional kind of development camp, possibly. Because I'm not sure that being at clubs and having an expectation that you might end up playing for that club, and then the disappointment of finding out at 19 that you're not quite good enough and stuff. I don't know, but we really need to fundamentally rip the whole sport apart, and if we fundamentally rip the whole sport apart, who's going to pay for the sport to exist? Because me and Tom, whilst we might have these ideas that we like, intrinsically I like the NFL model, we can't afford to run this sport. And clearly Mr. Lenigan and Mr. Caddick and Mr. Pearson and the likes who can afford to help run our sport, would have a totally different attitude on it to me and to Tom.
Right. Oh, where are we? So, and finally, here we go. So, Super League have announced a new commercial deal. Now, can a deal
tasty new deal?
Let's say a tasty new deal. Can a deal be classified as commercial if you don't get any actual money from it? With Papa John's, that's the pizza company, that will see the players supplied with pizza post-match while games are played behind closed doors. The brand's logo will also feature on perimeter advertising and on Super League's social media channels. Now, just on Super League social media channels, we have what's called as an NVIDIA Shield. It's like a thing that goes into the TV, and it has YouTube on it, and it shows you like a little tiles of what you could watch next. And it said the Super League ones, I don't know if you've seen the graphics they've started using for the highlights, where they have the two team names put across sort of as banners, so say like Rovers FC and that kind of thing. Well, anyway, this week it said Dragons Tigers, or I think it was, and Heather walks in the room and says, Dragons Tigers, is that a follow-up to Tiger King? And then she goes, oh, it's rugby highlights. Oh, okay. So, yeah, the design has gone down well in this house, if nothing else. Back to the pizza. Super League Chief Commercial Officer, the current Super League Chief Commercial Officer, Rodri Jones, said, it's great to be partnering with Papa John's during the behind closed doors period, and it's important to be able to provide our players with the chance to refuel after a tough game. As we have seen since the restart, Betfred's Super League games are getting faster and harder, and I know the players are grateful when they see so many pizzas to choose from after a tough 80 minutes. Papa John's marketing director, Giles Codd, said, we are delighted to be partnering with the Betfred Super League this season. Ensuring the players and officials are fed safely post-match is paramount, and our teams are well drilled in safely delivering fresh, hot and tasty pizza after successfully adapting to the situation we find ourselves in during this global pandemic. We wish all the players and everyone at Super League the very best for the season and can't wait until venues can be reopened to let the fans back in to watch top-flight rugby league. Well, I suppose at least without getting any money for it, I don't know how to work out how they slice that up.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Like, the one question about this was, are they getting any money? Because it would seem like a win-win situation, even if it was kind of a small nominating fee for the match UK advertising. You know, free pizzas for a Papa John's logo at the start of highlights on YouTube seems like a fair deal to me.
I think part of this is the reporting from if they said they'd worked out the price of those pizzas and worked out how much the deal was worth, and said in a deal worth X £100, £1,000, then actually.
But also, there was an absolute quest for someone to tell the Rugby League public that the Super League are getting nothing for this, and then everyone would react predictably because we all remember the Stobart deal, which was done by the RFL and not by the Super League, but its legacy taints our whole sport, doesn't it? So that quest to get that line that it's got no money in. I almost feel like it wasn't worth fucking reporting this. The Papa John's logo has been appearing for 3 weeks on those videos. It almost wasn't worth the press release because people say this is the most Rugby League thing ever, or the most British Rugby League thing ever, some people might say, that we've given away some advertising for free. But do you know what is more fucking peak Rugby League? Is slagging it off mercilessly so that Papa John's will never want to actually do a deal that involves money with the Super League.
Yeah, and it's a brand more people have heard of Papa John's than have heard of Super League. So if Papa John's do retweet a couple of things from Super League, that's actually bought us more exposure than we could ever get naturally. So I actually think people are being dickheads about this more than actually it's a bad the assumption it's a bad deal. Actually, it's probably worth quite a bit of money in actual monetary terms if you think about it. Not having to pay for that post-match food, certainly to your average club, is a significant cost.
Yeah, and obviously, Cass won't be sending the money down to Pizza Prima at the moment because they're not playing in Cass. So, they still want pizzas, so why not get them for free? But sorry, you're saying? Yeah,
and I think they've got they've saved a cost. They've done well. The exposure is worth it. I mean, how many? Let's do it. Have a look. So how many things Twitter followers do we think Papa John's have got in the UK? Let's have a look. Papa John's Pizza UK.
I'll get Super Leagues up whilst you're getting that one up then.
I've got 36.8 followers.
Oh, well,
that's
Super
just
League,
the UK.
Super League's got a massive amount more than that, 211,000 followers. So,
and then Papa John's worldwide have got 627,000.
Yeah.
So if you get one tweet off the worldwide, then you have broadened your reach by however much. Now, are those people that are Papa John's pizza things, are they going to be interested in Super League? Not all of them, no. Are they roughly similar, and therefore could we find 50-odd extra people that might be interested enough to watch some highlights or watch a quick video? Quite possibly, yeah. So actually, from that point of view, that might be worth it because you get a couple of those that start becoming interested and start engaging with the sport. They buy a shirt. That's money into the sport. That's money we weren't getting. So actually, if you look at it in those terms, it's about getting exposure. Actually, it's probably not too bad giving up something for that. And actually, I think we need to think in those sorts of terms more.
Yeah, I think there is some legitimacy in criticising that the deal's bringing no sort of money in, but at the same time, there's also maybe an overreaction to that, burdened by some of the stuff we've done. This is not a major partner for Super League. Probably doing this press release with the way it's been framed and put out, Rugby League people are going to say this is fucking bollocks. That's what Rugby League people are going to say. What we don't want is Rugby League people saying to Papa John's this is fucking bollocks, because then Papa John's will say we don't want to do anything with you guys again. So some of the way it's been released by the Super League and some of the way it's been reported, I think are more problematic than the deal itself. Papa John's as an organisation